Welcome to episode 361 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, Vision Pro, Mac, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and we have a great full panel this week. Starting off, back on the show here is Mike Potter. How you doing, Mike?
Doing great. Thanks, Dave. Always happy to be here. Love the new logo, by the way. Haven't had a chance to tell you that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes. My brother-in-law was kind enough as a designer to do that for me. And kudos to Chris. Thank you, Chris, if you hear this. And not a great job you did on the logos for the show. So Jill McKinley is back on the show. Glad to have her back. How you doing, Jill?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I think that Apple has sucked me in as much as they can with their environment, and then I just find more ways of just getting further down the hole with it. So I am excited about more Apple use.
That works. Marty Jencius is here, and he's got his Eat, Sleep, podcast and repeat. And how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. Today was a light day. I'm taking a trip to Chicago tomorrow and going to see a couple of Cubby games on Saturday and Sunday. And so I'm looking forward to it. I took it easy and just slowly got prepared for the trip. So.
Good deal. Chuck Joyner is back on the show. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm good, Dave. Good to see you. Good to see everyone here.
Yes, I appreciate you being here. And last but certainly not least, Eric Bolden, you're here. How you doing?
Good. It's nice to be here.
Yes, and you've got those are the Pelicans, right?
Pelicans in the background. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go. And I'm recovering from a long journey back from downtown Chicago for work today, so I got here just in time just to make sure we were doing the show tonight. So glad
we send you our best
all
wishes.
Of us are here. We can. Yes, pre-show. I'm recovering. Just made it. So, but we got a lot of great things to talk about this week. Some Vision Pro discussion. Maybe throw a little Vision Pro tips in there. There's some announcements about where Apple's going with iOS, as well as In Touch with Mac. Lots of other topics. Might even touch on a little bit of AI. But let's go ahead and get started. And then we start with In Touch with Vision Pro. There's a report that Apple's aiming to release some AI smart glasses next year. They're expediting plans to compete with Meta's popular Ray-Ban smart glasses. This is reported through Bloomberg and Mark Gurman that they're aiming to release these by the end of next year. So we're talking about a ways back here. I just wanted to mention this only because the report did say that they're producing them in large quantities of prototypes at the end of the year, and they'll probably be doing a lot of testing. Is this going to be something cool? I don't know. Is it going to be expensive? I would hope not. What do you think, Marty?
I'm excited about it. And I think Apple has stayed back enough to kind of figure out what's going on in the market with smart glasses, looked at what different people like Meta have put out already and ones that they say they're going to have. And I think they're going to find the sweet spot of what we want out of smart glasses, more than what Meta Ray-Bans provide now, but not the full functionality of Vision Pro.
Okay. Eric, you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think this is great because it means there's going to be a whole pile of people that are going to have to live with the S-Lady voice assistant and get something useful and be able to give feedback and do something about improving. So I'm really looking for it. It might take them until next spring, but it's going to be well worth it.
Mike, could this be possibly something you might dabble in with the virtual VR type glasses if it's the price is right?
Do you want the long answer or the short answer? I'll go short.
You
no.
pick. No. And I knew that. So I just had to tease it out there. Chuck, how about you? We still haven't gotten you to buy a Vision Pro yet, but could this be something you look at?
Dave, I'll look at anything. It always will come down to, what it can do. Please pardon the pun. I can envision smart glasses being, being useful and being something that I would wear. I can also envision them being like Google Glass was, and just a complete affectation and, and a dud. So yes, I mean, in a word, yes, depending on what they do.
Then Jill, I know you would probably like to explore this.
I would like to explore, but I'm sort of on Chuck's side on this. I just don't really get it. I don't know what they're going to do. If someday people come out and say, "Oh, this is amazing. I have, all my turn by turn," I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm probably more likely to buy the full blown version than I am the glasses, but I'm curious as always.
I got to challenge Chuck on the Google Glass thing, because the Google Glass thing was 10 years ago or more. And I got a pair, not because it kind of fell into my lap. Actually, it wasn't an expected expenditure. And I thought at that time the technology was pretty cool, but it was just weirding people out wearing those things around. But, on-screen notification, and we're talking simple things 10 years ago. We've advanced a lot more in notifications and potential turn-by-turn directions and things like that. Basically Meta shoots some movies. You can ask it some questions. That's about it. But I think Apple has some potential here, and, maybe a step up from Google Glass with some full screen capabilities and things like that. Having had that experience with my Google Glasses that are now safely packed away in my closet because Google drops support of it like they do all products. I do see the potential for this.
I have to say, I agree with one thing Marty said, is I want to maybe have them. I don't want everyone else to have them and be recording every conversation. And so.
Well, that's all right, because all the surveillance cameras already do that now, Jill. So what difference does it make? Right. It'll be an extra copy. And Marty, your point is well taken. That we are farther down the road. I guess because of the way Google developed it, it didn't strike me at the time as very useful. And so I'm right back to my original answer. It depends on what it offers.
Yeah. I mean, I got them. They were part of, like, teachers are getting those to record their teaching in the classroom. And there was a lot of push from the educational side. Didn't really impact me much in terms of what I was doing, but I was interested in the technology and kind of thought there's probably easier ways to record your teaching than wearing a set of glasses. But
I think Marty was just tired of all of his students using the common nickname for people who wore Google Glass at that time.
No, never talking class again.
No, I actually didn't bring them much to school. It was one of these things where you have $1,500 on left on a grant you have to spend before the end of the fiscal year, or you turn it over to the university. And I said, well, hell with that. And the tech guy said, why don't you get a pair of Google Glasses? I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair. And the next story I want to talk about, actually, this topic is related to a really cool app that just got released on Apple Vision Pro. It's a D-Day, the camera soldier. And I attempted to I installed it and tried to download it, but I had a bit of a struggle. But Marty, I'm glad to hear that you were able to download it and got to watch the movie. Basically, what it is, it's D-Day, the camera soldier. It's a 20-minute interactive spatial and immersive video, and you step into history with this groundbreaking interactive documentary. And the story is, for decades, Jennifer Taylor knew little about her father's role in World War II, and then 80 years later, she got all this together and went through an emotional journey to go with this. And just to sum that up, so Marty, we're hearing it for the first time. How was that movie, and what was your thoughts on it?
I'm curious. Eric, did you get a chance to see it yet?
Not yet. It was just taking too long to grab. I
really.
I just need. Well, my network connection wasn't fast enough to give it to me, or it was slow to hand off. I'm not sure which. So it only just finished right before we started, and I couldn't press the button.
Yeah. I thought the interesting thing about the video was how the experience, I can't call it a video, how it was put together. because it included aspects of, some videos, some stills. It's obvious that they had taken a lot of black and white stills and put them through a spatial converter. So you had these 3-dimensional pictures of her dad and other scenes that kind of added to the context of it. There were parts of it that remind me, I don't know if anybody's played the game The Room, where you go in and manipulate objects and things like that. There are parts of it that reminds me of that in terms of the view that was in there. I do have to say, and this is maybe something about me with some of these spatial videos, they really like to do extreme close-ups. And, so we get to hear from the daughter really close up. And you can clearly see where she gets some of her most prominent facial features from her dad. But it's a little spooky that way. And then long extended pauses and silence of a close-up of the daughter. There was almost a little too much daughter in it and not enough story in it about D-Day. But it certainly showed a different way of using and only being able to use it in this kind of spatial system to be able to tell stories in a completely different from the other ones that we've seen in terms of immersion experiences.
Well, appreciate that intro there and letting us know about this movie, because it seems very interesting, and your insights on it. And then Eric and I will get it going, and we'll definitely get to take a view of it. And this is just a great concept on what the Vision Pro really can do, and give you these kind of immersive interactive videos, and it being an actual documentary and being able to kind of interact.
And it does some full room scanning. So, you have the video in the middle, and then you have like animation around you, going across the chair in my room and crawling up the walls. So it's really using kind of that spatial theater experience.
And then one last thing, just to remind everybody, tomorrow, which is May 30th, as we record, the new Bono movie, Stories of Surrender. It's going to be a full-length feature movie. It was his documentary on his book, and I think it's going to be very interesting. The trailer looked pretty amazing, and look forward to seeing what this is all about. And you don't have to necessarily be a Bono fan, but I just want to have the experience of the immersive video to see what they came up with, because Bono has been very, very supportive of a lot of that technology, especially when they had their concerts a while ago at the Sphere in Las Vegas. And boy, I tell you, they really have adopted some great technologies, and it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes. So, and I believe you could watch the movie that's not in. Is that right, Marty? I don't think we can. Can you watch the movie not on Vision Pro right now, or is there a non?
It's not available, Eric. It's not available on Vision Pro. And even the trailer, which is in Apple TV on Vision Pro, they have a new trailer. They call it, I don't know, a bonus material, which is really where you get the spatial setup. I've said this before. I've been kind of hard on Bono with this, because I was unthrilled by the trailer that they had. But then they put this bonus material in, and it's sort of like, okay, I can now see how they're going to do this, which includes some line animation and includes a lot of spatial. And if you liked or had seen the Metallica video, where you have those on-stage experiences, the same sort of thing is in that bonus material trailer. So if we get an hour and 26 minutes of that, it's going to be very cool.
So I'm sorry, it is going to be released on Apple TV Plus, so you'll be able to watch it on Apple TV and such, but there will be the immersive video version available on the Vision Pro, is what you'll be able to get.
Yeah, okay.
I make sure I was clear on that. All right, so let's go ahead and move on away from Vision Pro, and then beta this week. There's no beta. We're still on 18.5 in iOS, but this was an interesting announcement this week. At least this is reported from Bloomberg. with the design overhaul and coming this year, Apple plans to rename all of its operating systems as reported. Going forward, iOS, iPadOS, macOS, tvOS, watchOS, and visionOS will now be identified by the year rather than a version number. So now we're not getting iOS 19, we're getting iOS 26. So iOS 26 will then it'll be accompanied by all the rest of the ones I just talked about. iPadOS, macOS, tvOS, watchOS, and visionOS, and yeah, this is going to be something rather interesting. This is not something that Apple has normally done for many years with our versions of OSs. And I'm sorry, you, Chuck. What were your thoughts when you saw this?
I rose by any other name. It's it's going to be what it is, and I admit that things can get quite a bit confusing because the OSs have advanced at different rates, and some of them were created after others, and so it probably is a good idea to unify it. I have to wonder how long it will stay unified, because obviously Apple's not going to hold back one operating system as opposed to, just to stay current and be able to advance everything at once. So, good. We'll reset the clock a little bit and see what happens and see, when they need to do it again. But it's convenient because this way everybody will start from a given point sometime later this year, and then we'll see where it takes us.
So Mike, Mac OS 26, going from all the versions of Mac OS all these years, this is going to be interesting.
I don't know what to think about this. I mean, I understand the concept. I understand what they're attempting to do. It feels like a rushed decision within Apple somewhere in the boardroom to say, hey, how can we unify the naming of all these? I know, let's use years. It just seems like a silly decision, and that maybe coming up with a new, different type of naming would have been a better course of action, in my opinion, something that people can actually latch onto. I feel as if there's going to be, assuming this is true, right? It's a rumor. It might be from Bloomberg, and look, we're getting really close to WWDC, so it's probably true. But they could have come up with a better way to do this, I think. I feel as if there's going to be some confusion amongst users when they see this iOS 26 or macOS 26 versus the next expected number. Or Apple is just really, really excited for Microsoft to change its numbering scheme, because every time Apple changes its numbering scheme, Microsoft follows behind them. So just wait for Windows 26. That's my prediction for next year.
I'll believe it when I see Windows 9. I'm still waiting on Windows 9.
Windows 9.
Well,
that's right.
Remember, Microsoft jumped to Windows 10 and they said this is going to be the last version of Windows ever, version 10. And it just so happened to coincide to Apple's Mac
Every
OS
Windows
OS
for a
10.
Windows user feels like the last Windows version ever.
It does, doesn't it?
Oh, God, I wish it would be the last version.
Yeah. Well, Windows 8 was my last version, so...
like was said, it is what it is. What are we going to do? We can complain about it. We can debate about it, but it doesn't really matter. It's what Apple's going to do. So whether it's the right decision or wrong decision, this is what we're going to have, and we're going to like it.
But before I move on to, I just want to make sure I recognize everybody in the chat here on in youtube.com/intouchwithios. Great to see Web Bixby and Cletus, and Craig was in the chat this week. Great to see you, Craig. And Wither Bucket, he's in there as well. And one comment I like to see, what Bixby says, how will the updates be named? If it's going to be iOS 26, it's going to be iOS 26.1? I don't know. That's probably how I would imagine would happen. Wouldn't you guys think?
Well, I was going to say that I got hired by Microsoft at Windows 95. Which I was a big fan of naming it after the years, because then you knew, if someone asked me, they said, which phone do we have and which iOS do we have? And I'm like, I don't know, one's 18 and one's 14. I don't know. So I'm a big fan of this. I think this will clear everything up. Plus all these California towns I've never been to, it's all going to be better.
Well, that doesn't mean they're not going to still name it a California town.
Yeah, but at least I can say 26. And if you want to call it Pismo Beach, that's fine. I don't care.
Eric, go ahead. You wanted to put something on that?
Well, I figure it's either a massive distraction so that nobody talks about intelligence, and instead you talk about next year, or it's a really good idea because now there's so many different objects, and if they come out with new speakers and wall panels and all the rest of it, people in security and IT already have a hard time figuring out what's the current version. And when you tell users, well, that's 3 and the other one's 12 and this one is, that's too many numbers for people to remember. The year you can handle, and we'll support, the most recent 2 years, and anything older than that is too old. That's easy to talk about. It's easy to put out notes about it. So from a security standpoint, I think that, and for users, I think that's easier to keep track of. And then Apple can sell a lot more different types of items without confusing people, at least on what version of the software.
Okay. And lastly, Marty, do you want to add anything else to this?
It's nothing really. Just it'll be easier to shame people because you'll know what year they're in.
That is true.
Or how far behind they are versus talking about 18 or 17 or 19 or whatever.
Then we talk them into the devices too, like Mac 2025 and Mac 2026, and get rid of the.
Also, real quick, I wanted to just mention this was an interesting article about the fact that with the jumping to iOS 26, will Apple renumber iPhones too? With the next generation versions, as we know that they're going to be doing this, will we presumably think it'd be less confusing by renaming the iPhone models too? Because we've known the numbers since basically day one when the first iPhone came out years ago. What do anybody think about this? Do you think that Apple would do this? I don't know. They've been pretty solid on iPhone models for many, 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 many years.
I'm a big fan.
Well, I think Jill raised a great point. I mean, the Macs haven't had numbers or years on them for a while now. Why do we even need a number? Why not just call it Mac OS and iOS and tvOS? And why need the number? I mean, Eric's point is a valid one, from a security standpoint, from an understanding standpoint. I get that.
Well, we had the debacle for a while there where things were just called by a name and there was no differentiation. So, you had, I sort of thought it was the iPhone, that you had an iPhone. Which iPhone? I just have an iPhone. This year's iPhone is this year's iPhone, and next year's iPhone is called iPhone. You got to put some kind of differentiation on, whether it's a number, a letter, a year, a California town, Jill, but there has to be some way to tell them apart.
I mean, I guess they do put a year on the Macs. It's just a silent year.
Yeah, it's a silent. I want years on everything. I want iPhone 25. I want iOS 25. I want Mac 25. I want all years all the time.
I want fins.
Fins.
I want fins on my Mac. That's what I want. That'd be awesome.
Thank you, Elvis.
You're welcome.
So let's move on to a little bit of In Touch with the Mac this week. A couple things I found here. The Shortcuts creator now debuted a Sky, an AI helper that understands everything on your Mac's screen. This was the creators of the Shortcuts, the app that was acquired by Apple and deeply integrated into iOS and macOS today. They unveiled this latest project. Sky is going to provide an AI helper that can assist you with everything that you can do on your Mac. Sky is designed to float unobtrusively over what you're doing, and so AI is just a click away, understands what's on your Mac screen, and is able to take actions using the apps that you have installed. It's able to help answering questions, writing, planning, coding, and much more, and it can be customized to your prompts. So Sky will know what apps are open, what you're doing, and what actions are possible based on that information. It's going to have built-in integrations like with calendars, messages, notes, Safari, Finder, Mail, and screenshots. So this is interesting to see. Mac Stories' Federico Vittucci was able to test it because it is not out available just yet. It's going to be set to come out in the summer, and you can sign up on the waiting list. I'm gonna get with you, Mike, again with Mac. What do you think this app's gonna really come into play with? Do you find it interesting? I don't know what your position is on AI, but this is another attempt of an AI tool.
Isn't this what Microsoft is getting in trouble with for right now? This is what Microsoft is trying to do, and everyone's like, "Oh no, we can't have that happen," and so they pull it back, and then they reintroduce it. No, we can't have that happen. And someone else comes along, someone we don't know other than they created the Shortcuts app that Apple bought, and they say, "Hey, let us record your entire screen and interact with it." No, I do not want this. I'm sorry. This is not going to go on my Mac. We're sharing stories this week about T-Mobile recording the phone screen, and everyone's going, "No, don't record the screen." Is it because it's T-Mobile? Is it because it's something that's not running on a Mac or on an iPhone? No, you don't let somebody randomly record your screen just to get the convenience of whatever they're promising you.
Cutting and pasting. I mean, that's what it is.
Yes.
I'd like to see more detail what you can and what you can control. I would hope that the application you can control. Hey, you can't do this or you can't do that. I don't know. We don't know yet because it's still very early.
They're going to slap it on our Macs. Everyone's going to freak out when it starts recording stuff it shouldn't. And then they're going to say, "Oh, we're sorry. We didn't mean to record that." Well, you already did. And then they're going to release another No, nope, not happening.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I'm with Mike about 70%. Because if I understood this correctly, the difference between what I understood this to do and what Windows is doing is Windows is recording your screen every few seconds and then saving it. And my understanding with this was that this was more monitoring it. And I want to be careful not to have anybody misinterpret this, but that's kind of what Text Expander does. It's monitoring what I type, and then if it sees something that it needs to act on or I want it to act on, it does it. And so if I've misunderstood this, but I didn't understand it to be recording and then archiving. And so that to me is a difference. And, would I consider it? Oh, my same answer all the time. It depends. I would want some kind of serious assurances, to Mike's point, that it's not recording and A, sending it somewhere, or B, even keeping it on my machine. But if it's just sitting there waiting for me after so many minutes, seconds, it decides, or I can set it to decide that, okay, after 30 seconds, it's going to get rid of what it just saw on the screen. I might be okay with that. I'm not sure, but I might be.
I was going to say, I just feel like I should just say yes to everything Chuck always says, because I agree on this point too. I'm kind of interested in it, and not even so much for me, but I don't know about you, but you probably support a lot of people in your lives who aren't as good at computers as you are. And as long as there's assurances, there's security built into it, I'm excited about it. I think I've seen similar things for enterprise software where it's not exactly AI, but it has like hover points. It creates hover points that the IT team creates. Hey, would you like a document about this area you're working on? And it helps people greatly. An AI version would be great. And if I see that it looks secure, I'm going to be in on that. Not for me, but I think for other people in my life.
Yeah, I think happy to see this, at least see the video. It's not out yet. I'm hoping that because they could show us a video that it exists more than Apple's last attempt to show us functionality between apps. So I don't mind it in that sense. I guess I would hope that you could use a local model instead of having to send it out to somebody else. I'm kind of, I'm open to seeing it working so that progress can be made. I'm really curious to see what version of this kind of inter-application communication Apple comes up with, and how they handle privacy and how that adjusts. And can you exclude certain apps, or are password fields automatically turned off? I think this is sort of a preview into something we might get in the future. And it gives us an opportunity to express concerns early so that we don't see it in the operating system later. So I'm happy to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I want you to timestamp this moment, May 29th, 8:32 p.m. Eastern time, because Mike Potter and I agree on AI probably for the first time. Somebody brought this to the Old Mac Gang podcast last night and put it in and said, let's talk about this. And I kind of went nuts thinking of the Microsoft debacle and thought, we don't know what the parameters are. We're all wishing for some way in which we have all these controls that we can put on it, but we have no assurance that's what's going, that it, right now looks like a keylogger in a lot of ways. And so for that reason, I'm skeptical of it. Will I sign up to test it? Of course I will. Because I want to find out what's going on with it. But it just seems a little too much in my stuff. So yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on here. This one's kind of interesting. It's kind of real quick here. It's this tiny Macintosh replica actually works. It's meet the Pico Mac Nano, a super tiny yet functional Macintosh replica created by 1-Bit Rainbow, a website that sells parts for vintage Apple products. It's inside the miniature. It's a 3D printed Macintosh 128K case in a small Raspberry Pi Pico microcontroller, along with a 2-inch LCD screen. The replica actually is usable. It runs on an emulated version of the classic Mac operating system and has a USB keyboard and mouse support included with the USB splitter cable. They're selling it. It shows that they're selling this for €56, I think that is. But it's gone out of stock, of course, because everybody's all crazed about it. But you can create one yourself if you wanted to. If you have a 3D printer, and it's available freely on GitHub. What do you guys think? This? It's kind of interesting. I don't even know if I would want to be able to try using that with that tiny screen.
Well, I think you missed the point, Dave. It's not to try to understand what's on the tiny screen. It's the fact that you can run it on that tiny screen. That's the cool thing. Now, this was really, really a fascinating project. One of the things that interested me the most was the work he put into making this tiny little screen that he found work. It turns out that it was designed only for vertical operation. So he had to figure out how to rotate the frame buffer in order to get the screen to display properly within his tiny little Mac. I love the story behind it. In fact, I went to this site a couple days ago strictly or explicitly to buy one. I wanted one of these things, and not only I wanted the collector's edition. Have you seen the collector's edition? It comes with a replica box that mimics the original Mac box, and he even 3D printed the foam packing to go around the Mac inside the box. This is an amazing project. Now, I did go back there again because it said it was out of stock. And the reason it says out of stock is because he's trying to figure out how to ramp up production after Forbes talked about this. Because people like me are like, I want to buy this. So right now you can't buy it, but as soon as you can, I think I'm going to be plunking down my Apple Card to get one because this is a pretty cool project. I love it.
I'm feeling so much better about my purchasing decisions in the past. I just, I've got a rubber one that I can stick my watch in and it looks like I have a clock on it. It's kind of nice. I have really big fingers. And I think if I bought this and I tried to show it to people, y'all might be excited about it. But the general people that, are in my family will look at it and go, oh, that's really neat. And then try and keep sharp objects away from me.
Only 78 pounds. It's only 78 pounds, Marty. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Not bad. And you get me to buy things all the time, so.
Yeah, but I'm feeling better about my purchases because this I don't think is in my rainbow.
Yeah. I don't think I probably will get it either.
I'm glad everybody has a hobby. It's a good story. The story is great. I'm just glad he has a hobby.
If I could get it to fit on a keychain.
Yeah, well.
I'm going to get 2 and put 1 in each glasses and then say that I now have the smart glasses.
No, just get a necklace and you can kind of hang it around your neck.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. That's what Johnny Ive and what's his name want to do.
Right.
Maybe I can hang 2 from my rearview mirror in my car. Somehow it just feels.
People have too much time on their hands. That's all there is to it.
This is what computing used to be.
Yeah.
That's what I'm surprised you are all missing. We're all of a similar vintage here. This is what we used to do to get computers to work. We used to take little parts and cobble them together and solder things and actually make keyboards out of scrap that was in a pile in our basement. Or I did.
Yeah, but it was about yay big though, Mike. It wasn't,
well,
teeny little.
And Mike, it's why we went to Apple, because we used to do that with Windows because we could build a $200 computer. And now I bought my Apple IIc back in the day and it says, you dare open this, you lose all warranty.
Yeah, but we opened them anyway. We opened them.
I was scared to death of them, but
because we could open them. We opened them. We installed memory. We installed cards.
Oh gosh!
Maybe not on the 2C, but certainly the 2Es and the 2 pluses. We did that all the time.
Oh, I was scared of them. I was too frightened of them to do anything. Well, I should have known better.
But we were always tearing our stuff apart.
Yeah,
that's why we got case crackers. Case crackers for the SE30, and
I've got a case cracker within walking distance right now, Eric. I know exactly.
I got one right over there. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on here. Just a couple quick updates. It does. There's been updates to Logic Pro with the Mac and the iPad. Several new features were added. Those who would use Logic Pro, it's got a flashback capture feature to recover a performance that otherwise had been lost because you forgot to set the Logic Pro to record. Well, that's interesting. And there's also enhancements to the stem splitter feature that allows you to extract stems from an audio track for vocals, bass, drums, and other instruments and parts. And it's got a lot of good updates. Not everybody's using Logic Pro. I don't know if anybody here uses Logic Pro. Does anybody here use Logic Pro?
I use Logic Pro.
Oh, yeah, you do.
I just started 2 weeks ago and learned it all, but not all. I learned some, but yeah.
Well, now you got some new features to play with.
Well, I'm wondering on this thing about if you forget to hit record, does that mean it's recording you all the time, like the Microsoft thing we're all frightened of? I mean, is that what it's doing?
Very possible.
I don't know. How can it go back and save something you never hit record on?
Yep, that's true. And then Final Cut Pro 11.1.1 and compressor was also updated and fixed an issue with causing inconsistent frame rates when sharing with a allow export segmentation setting. Final Cut also addresses an issue where it could cause MXF media to play back incorrectly, improves reliability. So again, more bug updates on Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. You don't see them too often, so I wanted to make sure I noted it and make sure you do your updates on both those products. And then one last thing I say, this is again a rumor about Mac OS 26. They are rumoring that this is going to be the last of these 5 Macs are not going to be supported by Mac OS 26, which includes the MacBook Pro 2018, the iMac 2019, the iMac Pro, which that's going to be gone, 2017. The Mac Mini, which was the last of the Intels for 2018, and the MacBook Air 2020 Intel-based. So it looks like slow but sure until the Macs are going to stop being supported on newer operating systems, right? All right.
I can't believe the iMac Pro is that old.
Yeah, 2017. I remember buying one at work when we bought one. And that was the workhorse for the iMac line. That was the only Pro that there was, and they never came out with an iMac Pro after that. And we always had those debates. The iMac now is what's got is it M2 or M3? I think is now, or is it M4? I can't remember. But 2017. Time has just flown by. It really has. So some other topics and tips. Google Maps has 7 items you can use with both Android Auto and CarPlay, but we all use CarPlay, of course. Is packed with some new features, and a couple things that you can do. You actually can change the look of your vehicle, which I find that to be interesting, and I thought it's important. Finding somewhere to stop along the way makes it easy just for stop for gas or groceries and such. Got that. You switch up a perspective of the map. You can change that perspective. Help out other road users with the built-in feature alerting other users about what's happening on the road, and you can do it for CarPlay, as well as you can choose what's shown on the screen. And shared your journey with other people. So, and even audio prompts can be changed too. Still isn't going to convince me. I still enjoy using Apple Maps. Anybody here use Google Maps instead of Apple Maps?
I use Waze and Google Maps.
You do?
Don't use Apple Maps because it made a hatchery of Upper Michigan, so I couldn't use it for some of my trips. But I do use Google and I like it quite a bit. I hate them.
You do too, Mike? You use Google Maps?
Yeah. I got one of those, nice little MagSafe mounts for my car and just fire up Google Maps and there you go.
Okay.
I'm tempted to use it tomorrow when I take the trip, just because of this article, kind of. And I've used it in Chicago, and it seems to give me better responsiveness than Apple Maps does. Yeah. So I might play around with it. I stumbled across it when I was in Chicago in one trip and left it on for that and thought it was pretty cool. So we'll see. But I do like the dog that barks at me and tells me, on Waze, constantly tells me what's going on.
I like the Cookie Monster on the Waze. I don't think they still have that, but
it's cute for about 20 miles, and then after 20 miles, it's like, will you please shut up?
What are you guys? I use Waze. What are you guys talking about?
Oh, there was a time where you can change the different voices. Yeah. Cookie Monster was one of them.
Oh, can you still do that?
Yeah, we can still change the voice.
I've got the dogs.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay.
And then there's like a boy band and Mr. T.
I have a handsome British man.
I pity the
voice direction.
Yeah. I pity the fool. And this article came from a source I don't normally use, is Popular Science. So they're looking at Google Maps. So I thought that was interesting as well. So this is a cool app I found here. It's actually for you to catalog all your Apple Watch bands. And what this does is the ultimate app for keeping up and tracking all your Apple Watch bands is even better. It's called Bandabright. It's version 2.0. It was recently released in the App Store for the iPhone and the iPad. And according to the creator, the update introduced 30 new features and changes, including everything from the revamped logbook and the richer stats to the faster iCloud sync and improved search functionality. This has been out since 2020. And this gives you comprehensive information about every official Apple Watch band that was ever released. More than 840 bands organized by style, color, and release date. The app also keeps track of the bands that you currently own, as well as there's more filtering and sorting options. I think this is kind of crazy. I have my share of watch bands, but I don't. Who you have a lot of watch bands, Eric? You seem to be interested in this.
Yeah, I've maybe 15 or 20. But I have lots of duplicates.
No. It's not 840.
No, but what my problem is, I'll get a band that I really, really like. And so I want one that is exactly the same or functionally equivalent. Like the current band I have right now has like a blaze orange little strap section. And I didn't even realize you can get it in like a gray or a black version where it's not a blaze orange strap that stands out. So yeah, I'm gonna go look for the band that doesn't have Blaze Orange on it and replace this because I really like the band and it's finally wearing out. So I was happy with the app.
And that's an official Apple Watch, Apple band? Okay. Anybody else find this interesting? Or I don't know if I would catalog. I have a lot of bands, but a lot of them are third party. A good chunk of them are third party, so that wouldn't count. But
yeah, as Jill said, it's nice that people have hobbies.
Yeah.
I want to know what bands I have. I pull out the drawer that all the bands are in.
That's right.
Which one do I feel like wearing today?
Yeah.
Yep. What color? What goes in
my latest is the Pride band that just came out, so I've been watching that for a while. Oh, you got it too. There you go.
That is an awesome band. I love that. Yeah, I love that band. I had never seen more bands in a single collection than when I visited my co-host Eric and his family. It was amazing. And what he brought out was this storage bag designed just to keep your Apple Watch bands. And I thought, that is genius. What an amazing idea. You get this bag and it's got the little elastic bands in it. You can keep all your watch bands in it. And he told me he found it on Amazon. And I, dutifully, when I got home, I found it on Amazon and I stuck it in my cart. And I said, wait a minute, 48 watch bands. I have like 15. Why do I need this thing? And
aspirational, Mike, aspirational.
It's been sitting in my, I just looked, it's still in my Amazon cart. It's been there for 4 years. Thinking,
and you've been able to purchase everything around it since later. Then. That's funny.
No, you click save for later. Don't you guys?
Save for later.
Save for later. Cart?
Yeah.
Save for later. Yeah, it's in the save for later in the cart.
Yeah.
So, I can remember someday I might get that thing. It's been in there for 4 years and I've been watching the price go up and the price
I bet you the five of us could all chip in like 5 bands and then you'd have enough to fill it up because that would be 25 more bands and to add to your 15 and then that will have a purpose for you.
Well,
I have all the girl bands, so it won't work.
It's okay.
And it's not. It will hold whatever bands you put in it. I'd assume.
Yeah. No, it will. Yeah, it's got the little. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I love coming on this show because I learn about features for things that I had no idea existed. I mean, I there's a save for later. I did not know that because I usually I pick it out, I target it, I buy it, move on. So,
no, you put it in save for later, and when it goes on sale, it tells you.
Boom. Yes.
Yep.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
My save for later I've renamed to be stuff people didn't get me for Christmas.
No, that's a wish list. That's a wish list.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go and move on. I got one thing I wanted to talk about with ChatGPT and In Touch with AI, kind of a new feature I wanted to have on the show here. I've been doing, I did a number of training sessions at work this week on Copilot. And so I'm in an AI mode lately, doing presentations and answering questions for everybody about Copilot. And I found this article to be interesting because someone brought this up in one of our chats at work. Being polite to ChatGPT is pointless, new research shows. Research now shows that says that using phrases like please and thank you to ChatGPT has a small impact on quality, contradicting previous studies. In brief, the new research argues that saying please to AI chatbots doesn't improve their responses. It contradicts earlier studies. Scientists identify a mathematical tipping point on where AI quality collapses depending on the training and content, not politeness. Despite the findings, many users continue to be polite to AI as a culture habit, but others strategically use polite approaches to manipulate those responses. But now there's a new study saying that being polite is not only a waste of time, it's a waste of computing resources. It's also pointless. And the article went on to saying, giving a lot of hardcore data about this, and I kind of agreed with that. It is kind of pointless, but the point of the matter is the fact that it's saying that it's sucking up computing power. So does that mean that means all the server farms and data that's being pushed through all the ChatGPT servers is wasting electricity and wasting resources? What do you think, Mike?
Oh, it's wasting massive amounts of resources. Absolutely. And that probably is the key takeaway from the article. To simply study it and say, saying thank you is pointless. And I love the way you said pointless. It's pointless. But as we said multiple times, everyone's got a hobby. But the key takeaway, as I said, is yes, it's wasting resources because we're asking this compute farm to respond, to process and respond to our gratitude for the answer it gave us to our prompt. So, yeah, we probably don't have to do it, but there is also a certain sense of satisfaction that you get when the AI responds in kind and says, you're very welcome. I'm glad I could help. Let me know if there's anything else you need help with. Well, sure, I don't mind wasting those computer resources because it made me feel good about myself.
Oh, I'm going to disagree.
Yeah,
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think this, let's knock off all the, what we have learned, what your mother taught you, was be nice, to people. And to me, it anthropomorphizes the whole experience of working with an AI. I don't know how to be rude. Well, maybe with the exception of Chuck. I don't know how to I don't know how to be rude. It just is not in my nature. So to just cut off even the niceness is difficult for me to do when I'm interacting with other people, or in this case, an AI, So it's like, hey, that was great, except can you help me with this time? I guess I could drop off with cut off that was great because it would save some energy. But that's just not the nature of way I interact with people, and in this case, artificial intelligence.
Well, I want to second that real quick because that is a really, really great second takeaway. Because as we interact more and more with these faceless computers, and if we fail to respond with kindness, how quickly do we then turn on our fellow human beings and dispense with the niceties as well? So I think keeping up the practice of being polite and being kind, whether it's a device or whether it's another human, is an important thing for us to maintain that humanity.
Yeah, and when they become sentient beings, they're going to come for the unpolite people first.
Yeah, they are.
There is that cartoon where it shows armies of robots with guns, and it says, "Oh, not him. He was nice to me." But I did read 2 articles about it, and one they were saying, like, I taught my kids to always say please and thank you, and I want them to be polite. And then the other counterpoint was, I don't want to humanize this. I don't want them thinking this is a person. And so I thought, they both have really good points, but I noticed that ChatGPT now has the thumbs up and thumbs down. And then I'm like, okay, I can say, yes, I like this, without actually making and go through another prompt. So maybe that's the way, is to have response buttons that don't process.
To me, when I'm typing, it's like I'm texting to them. And when I'm texting to a friend, I'm saying thanks.
Yeah. Oh, I do it. I say all sorts of nice things to it, and I just feel bad about it. I'm like, I should stop.
Well, I'll add 2 things to the conversation. The first one is that, okay, so this is a study that contradicts prior studies. What time is it? And we can measure the amount of time between now and when the next study will come out that contradicts this study. And so, and sort of along the lines of Marty, there was another story going around this week about how a chatbot was threatened with termination, and it decided to blackmail the programmers. And so I figure this is an investment in kindness, and my safety and security, that I don't want a chatbot taking out its aggressions on me.
To Jill's point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Anything else to add on this?
Would you like to play a game?
Oh, no. Reminds me of, what was it, M65 in Star Trek, where they were going to unplug it and it overheard them, and yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, just watch the latest Cruisapalooza.
Yeah.
Go see the latest, or don't. Actually, I would say don't.
Open the pod to bay doors.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave. I can't
Not now,
do that.
Dave.
I can't.
Mike, you do that so well.
Yeah.
You should really that's good.
He does.
Yeah.
And you would ask you would ask the S lady all the time to do that, and then she would get mad. Anyway, this is the 15 years ago. It's actually yesterday as we record.
Wow.
First gen iPads rolled out to the world. The most revolutionary advanced technology and a magical and revolutionary device at an unbelievable price. I don't know about that. So customers across Europe, Asia quickly queued up to buy the iPad when the international launch date happened. Then Apple's original tablet finally arrived. There was such a gap between during that time and the U.S. launch that was in early April, and the international debut was like a month later. Unexpected large demand, and it was a groundbreaking device, and it went for sale. So I owned the first iPad. Did all you guys own the first iPad like me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we all
Apart
did.
from my Apple IIc, it was my first thing I bought for Apple. It's what got me into the Apple ecosphere.
Oh, that's right.
Nice.
That was right when the time you moved over to the good side.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just incredible. It was groundbreaking. It was a great iPad, and then the second gen iPad came out, and that one lasted for a good long time before, and continued on when they came out with the next generations after that. So I think it was running iOS 5 if I remember correctly. So it was a long time ago. What OS that was running, so yep, that's our history lesson for today when it comes to Apple here. So, and then let's jump into some of the news stories this week before we wrap up. The Apple Invites app. I don't think I've even looked at this app since it came out a while back. But they did update the Invites app to introduce a new option to add a link to an invitation. Event creators can now use the feature to send important details to invitees. Apple says that that links can be used for things like planning a trip, adding a gift registry, or working out who is bringing what to potluck. Links are open-ended, so any website can be added, and then that the invite you can create. And so Apple has add some other features on here, but I haven't even thought about it until this. I saw this article this week. Didn't you guys use it? I don't think I've touched it since it first came out.
So this opens up all possibilities for malfeasance. I mean, now that you can put a link in, I'm going to send you all invitations, and the link will be to like Rickrolling. So y'all going to get spammed by me with that.
Oh my gosh!
I forgot this was here until this article came out, and I'm afraid it's going to go the direction that Clips did. Apple makes these little pet projects of apps, and then they go away. They die. You don't see them anymore. Yep.
You can look at it that way.
That's all I got to really. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, you can look at it that way, Marty, and I think there's some truth to it. But you can also look at it as, once again, Apple's testing the water a little bit to see, what works, what doesn't. Sometimes. I find myself this way. Clips was a good example. I thought, Clips is going to be great. Yeah. And then I kind of forgot about it because I thought it was cool, but I really didn't have a use for it. So I liked the idea of it, but didn't fit what I needed. And I feel like this may be another one of those. And of course, we could all be wrong, and we're just not the kind of people that other people invite to parties, so we don't get any invitations. So.
Or we're always the invitee and never the inviters. That might be.
Yeah.
We never host parties.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on and talk a little bit about self-service repair. That had been a hot topic, and now Apple has launched a self-service repair for the iPad. They announced that yesterday as I record, that their self-service repair program has been expanded to the iPad lineup for the very first time. Program will include providing iPad owners with manuals, genuine Apple parts, Apple diagnostics troubleshooting sessions, tools, rental toolkits to conduct their own repairs. Support the iPad Air M2 and later, the iPad Pro M4, iPad Mini A17 Pro, the iPad A16, and starting the next day, it was for displays, batteries, cameras, and charging port repairs. We know Apple brought out this new program in 2022 to support individuals. So you can all definitely repair other things. And I'll still say this to this day: I will never repair my device ever. I don't know if anybody else will here would even want to attempt that. But would you kind of agree with that? I mean, I don't know, maybe Mike, he might do it because he likes it.
Yeah, Mike wants to rip things apart. Yeah, so
I do. That's how you learn, Chuck. You rip things apart and then you put them back together. I destroyed a microphone. No, what was it? It was a microphone. I destroyed a microphone because I was experimenting with turning the microphone into a headpiece. So, you live and you learn.
One day I took apart a monitor and I learned the word capacitor that day.
Ooh. Yeah, those are dangerous.
But,
CRT,
15-year-old, when I bought my first iPad, I was dirt poor. I probably spent my last dime on that thing. I probably would have been really into this. But, now probably not as much. But back then, I would have totally been all over this.
Yeah, I'm watching some YouTube videos, and I'm hopeful sometime next week I'll be able to do self-surgery. There's a gallbladder that probably needs to go in there. I just don't get this at all. It's like, that's why we have skilled, trained technicians. And if you look at they're loosening up kind of all of the things for stores to be able to do this. To me, it just seems like it's going to lead to a lot of bad repairs that'll wind up at the Apple Genius Bar.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard. It's not that hard. With the right equipment, it's not hard.
Yeah.
And
that's what I think about surgery too.
But that's the point of Apple's self-repair program, is to provide the right equipment. Now, I love the fact that Apple does this. I kind of know that they somewhat felt forced into doing this because they didn't really want to. So it always kind of bemused me that, or at least in the early days of their self-service repair program, that it kind of felt like malicious compliance. They'd send you this Mack truck worth of equipment and you had to figure out what all this equipment does, how it worked, how you had to put your phone in and pull off the screen, all this kind of stuff. I don't know if that's still the case, but it always kind of made me smile when I saw these stories and showed what they shipped to people in order to fix their, little 6-inch phone. But
back in the day,
I think it's great that they do this.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, back in the day, this is what kept me away from Apple, is that I could build my own Windows machine. I could build my own computer. I could make it, I could repair everything that I needed to repair. And I couldn't do any of that with Apple. And so then I just thought, maybe I could afford to buy an Apple device. I can't afford to keep, if something went wrong with it. And so, like I said, Jill, in 2014, I think I probably would do this, I would learn. Yeah.
2010? The iPad? I mean, not to derail this conversation too much, but the Macs back then were very easy to take apart. I mean, the elegance of being able to open a Mac where the screen was held on by magnets was amazing. When they switched to the glued-on screens, that's what made it much more difficult to repair, but you could still repair them. You could replace an SSD. You could replace a hard drive. You could replace an optical drive. You could add memory to them. So back then, as much as it looked like Macs were not repairable, they were very repairable. Now they're basically toasters.
Yeah, it had a label on it that said, "Don't do this," so I didn't.
Yeah, well, that's on you, Jill.
It is. Now I'm feeling a little bad about that.
I would love to see some stats on just how many people actually do these repairs, and more interestingly, maybe, but what is the percentage that try them again after they've done one or attempted one? That would tell you something, I think, about just how comfortable, how easy it is, and how successful it is.
It's the deregulation that the article implies, that certain stores, you don't even have to have been trained in it.
right?
In order to have the availability to do it. And I just feel like that's just going to open up more problems.
Yeah. I had a very unsuccessful iPad repair where I wasn't quite using the right equipment to delaminate the glue that was holding the glass in place. And as I tried to separate the glass from the iPad, it literally shattered and hit me in the face with little pieces of glass.
Mm.
And that was the last iPad I tried to repair. But, in general, even a Mac, even maybe not a modern iMac, but up until the Apple Silicon Macs, it was generally pretty easy to take them apart, as long as you had the right parts to put them back together again. But yeah. I got a little industrial type suction cup to pull off the glass screens.
The suction cups to pull the screen out. And yeah. And then real quick, the other article was Apple announced expanded access to iPhone and iPad repair parts. They launched a genuine parts distributor program in the US and Europe, broadening access to genuine parts. This program will allow repair shops who do not have a direct relationship with Apple to order genuine parts via third-party distributors. And these distributors are offering displays, batteries, cameras, charging ports, and port components for iPhone 12 series and newer, and SIM card trays available for 10 and newer. So they're opening this up too. So that means, a shop can be doing, because you always see You Break, We Fix, all these shops that are around doing all this work. And some of them are authorized repair shops, and many others are not. And you remember the whole thing when you would change out any component and you didn't reprogram it that it was to make sure it was authentic parts, it isn't going to work. Well, now there's no excuse. Don't buy those parts. Buy them through this direct possible place to go. So that was a little bit of the discussion on repairs. Couple more stories here before we wrap. Here is the Apple Card interest rate. Unfortunately, the savings account has dropped again. Went from 3.75 to 3.65. It's an all-time low. This drop follows the last interest rate cut in March, where it went from 3.9 to 3.75. So Apple did introduce this account in April of 2023, and I've had money in it ever since that day. And it's been a partnership with Goldman Sachs, and it's in the Wallet app, and you'll be able to get to it. It's so easy to transfer money between your accounts and into this account. I really like the way this is. It peaked out around, I think it was around 4.5%. So, but the market's changing. The way things go with interest rates is changing. So, it is what it is. What are you going to do? But I still find it to be easiest, and you start comparing other banks that are offering a little higher rates. You can go like 3.75. Some are at 4, but what are you talking about? 0.25% more in interest. I know that's if you have a lot of money, that might make a big difference in there. But I don't know. It's hard to really want to mess with it, because in my opinion anyway. And I also have an article here about comparing some of the other banks that are offering all the rates here, and some are at 4.0 and some at 4.4, 4.25. But some of these banks I never even heard of before, so you kind of want to tread lightly here and not just make sure that that's a bank that you really want to do business with. Any thoughts on this at all?
Well, back in the day when my grandmother was in Chicago, she hauled me to every Harris bank to get this interest rate, and then over to that bank to get that interest rate. And I'm not into that. But every time I'm on the show, I think, I should really check to see what I have in there, and I forget until the next time I'm on the show. So I don't. There must be something in there, but it is.
The one thing though, and Dave, you said it very eloquently. I think the interest rate was one of the differentiating factors. Now it's dropped down to sort of the middle of the pack, where a lot of the other mainstream banks are. Not the high yield savings accounts, but the regular. So now it's a matter of convenience, and the ability, first of all, the ability to have a set time when your bill comes due, so that you can pay it. We all know that, and the convenience of using Apple Pay. And so I feel like it's sort of lost one of its competitive edges. It could bring it back overnight if it wanted to. I also wondered, though, if this had anything to do with the squabble with Goldman Sachs. And, if was it Apple that was paying this rate, or was it Goldman that was paying the rate? So.
Pretty sure it's Goldman, isn't it?
I would think, and maybe Goldman because maybe
all the
they
banks
don't
are lowering interest rates now.
Oh yeah. So, but up to this point, theirs was one of the higher ones.
Yeah,
and now it's sort of middle of the road.
And to your point, Chuck, the chart in this article shows Marcus by Goldman Sachs as being 3.65, and that's where Apple's landed too.
Yeah.
So,
I find all the, 3.65, 4.0, 4.2, 3.75. It's all so very confusing. I think it should just be interest rate 26, honestly. I mean, I think that's really what we should do.
Yeah, this is the 2026 interest rate.
Oh, nice one.
Then we know we're just getting the 2026 interest rates, and we're good.
And last story here, Apple TV Plus is set to has a premiere date for the morning show, which is season 4. That was one of the first shows that came out on Apple TV many years ago when Apple TV Plus came out. Starring, of course, Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. It's going to be out around September 17th, so we got a few months yet before that's out. And it'll go through weekly through November 19th, and the story will pick up a couple years after the events of season 3. They've added some a good cast of characters here, and I enjoyed the show. I don't know about you guys. I watched all 33 seasons with it, so I don't know if anybody here still like that show. It's been a while since watched it last, right?
Oh yeah, great show.
Yeah.
And all right, I'll dive into this story real quick before we go.
That's good.
The T-Life app is going to has screen recording on default. T-Mobile says it's not a privacy risk. And it's rolling out at present, and customers were finding that the screen recording was on by default. Carrie has confirmed this by design, but claims that it's not a privacy risk, and it says that it can be toggled off if desired. The T-Life app has long had a screen share feature that helped in the help and support section. This was designed to allow support staff to assist with troubleshooting something over the app. And you can go on and on about this, and we had a bit of a debate earlier in the show here, but I think the biggest thing, in my opinion, is the fact that it should not be turned on by default. The text should say, "Okay, I want your screen share. Here's how you turn it on," and because you know what users are going to do is they're just not going to realize it's on, and now that they know this by this being a report, this is you want to have a choice. You shouldn't be forced into doing this. So, thoughts?
Well, yeah, in all seriousness, isn't this the whole point to the security features of iOS? That when an app says it wants to record your screen, it says, this app would like to record your screen. Would you like that to happen? I thought that was the point. How is this bypassing that security feature? I expect it's not. So what's the big deal?
I think my big thought on it is just in comparison to the previous thing is I guess I trust Apple so much. Although this app is in Apple, and so would the Finder app be in Apple, but it's the who in this. And I know the carriers are selling our data, and I know that Apple isn't, so then I trust them. But yeah, that's a good point, Mike.
But then they don't get your data unless you tell them they can record the screen. Right. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to ask why? Why does T-Mobile want to record my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a paranoid question, though, Chuck? Or is it like when TextExpander says, I'd like to record your screen, or I'd like to record your keystrokes, you just say, sure, go ahead.
Because my TextExpander won't function without it, but I would like to think that T-Mobile could function without my recording my screen.
But the T-Life app on my phone has never asked to record my screen. So is it recording my screen? And if it is, then there's a flaw in iOS.
Well, yeah, true. Okay. But I go back to I guess I'm taking one step further back and say why. Other than, and I'm sorry, but there's no way I can't think of another way to interpret it.
They already said it's for support.
Yeah, well, that sounds good, but that's a lot of support.
I would love to have access to my clients' phone screens all the time. I would love that. Because I'm so tired of trying to explain where stuff is on this stupid slab of glass. So if I could have constant access to it, that would be amazing. But I don't. So there you go.
And we're all glad you don't have that power.
Right. I know, right? So, I mean, I understand from a support perspective if they need to be able to interact with people who are having trouble with their app and say, hey, turn on this feature so we can see your screen. Sure, that's a great feature. But within the context of their app, if the app is not running, it shouldn't be recording your screen. So,
or if you gave permission
happening?
or denied permission. Yeah.
Or denied permission. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wonder if
seems like it's kind of been blown out of proportion here.
I kind of wonder if there's some sort of user agreement when you sign up for T-Mobile in the super fine print in one of their month updates that says, check this box, and it says, oh yeah, and we're for help with support, we're going to record your screen, and that's how they're asking for it, is instead of having it be a little more overt.
But always?
I think it, yeah. Well, it's convenient for the support person. I just think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'll just go back just to wrap this up. In the corporate world, you use applications to connect to people's machines and be able to share their screens and be able to help them and assist them with that. There's a mandatory with information security that you cannot go into someone's machine without their permission. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big security risk by allowing that to happen. Apple for years was always difficult doing it, especially with remote access, the remote access client, because you could open it up and just you can pop in anytime you want. And when that was set up, that was bad. But Apple's done a better job with that as far as remote support. So that's a good thing. All right, before we go, let's talk about MacStock, and of course, the person here that is the organizer and leader of MacStock is here, and we want to hear what's new with MacStock. And again, it's July 11th, 12th, 13th in Crystal Lake, Illinois, at this great place, Holiday Inn, and it has a great place to hang out. But tell us, Mike, what's the latest?
Oh gosh, well, I was looking at everyone who's on the show tonight, and everyone's been at MacStock. And I don't know if it's more valuable to hear from me or if it is to hear from Eric, because, or from Jill, or from Marty, or from Chuck, because you're the folks who are there. You're the folks who enjoy it and have a great time every year. So I'd absolutely love to hear what you have to say. But we've got a lot of fantastic stuff planned for the weekend. I mean, not only do we have the 6 workshops and we've got the 10, standard sessions over 3 days of MacStock this year, we're also going to have Mac Geek Gab recording an episode of their podcast live Saturday night. And our premier sponsor, our partner this year, Ecamm, is going to be hosting not only Ecamm Studios all weekend long, where you can learn about their software and talk to people who are directly involved with, helping people get the most out of it. But all that said, they're also going to be hosting a dessert party on Friday. So you got to make sure you get there Friday night so that, you can take part in that as well. No, seriously, it's going to just be a fantastic weekend.
It is.
So many great workshops, so many great sessions. I'm not even sure I could list them all, but I think the one thing that everyone's going to walk away with is a ton of new friends. I mean, you walk away with knowledge, you walk away with new experiences, but you also walk away with new friends. And I think that's probably one of the best things about MacStock, in my opinion.
Great.
What do you guys think?
I think it's great. I mean, I started going just recently, a couple years ago, and I've met so many people. In fact, someone messaged me on LinkedIn and said, "Oh, I saw you're speaking again. I can't wait." And I thought, "Wow, this is so cool."
That's amazing.
And I've learned I learned so much that I walk away with lists of go check out this, go check out that, go check out this other thing, that it's just been and it's all practical things that I would actually do. But like you said, the people I've met, and including all of you, it's just great.
And you guys too.
It's become a special event for me every year now. and I've been going for quite a few years. I've been there for quite a few years, and it is just an incredible connection with friends and people and new people who come that, from my conversations with them, feel very welcomed and also feel connected to MacStock itself. So it is very much something that it's like the middle of the year vacation for me. It's the holiday for me in the middle of the year. And like Jill said, I mean, when I started going to MacStock, it was like cha-ching, cha-ching. Everybody would give a report, or everybody would give us, a presentation on some new technology or new software, and it would be on my device before the weekend was over. So you pick up a lot, and it's a good community to do it with.
Yeah, I'll throw in too. I mean, it's a tie as far as I'm concerned between the presentations and the learning, regardless of who's presenting. Even Allison, I learned things, and but it's also the people. It's also the much discussed hallway track, and it's the dinners and the breakfasts and the evenings at the bar, just hanging out and talking to people. And Marty, I hadn't really thought of it exactly that way, but I am going to start thinking about it that way. It is like a mini vacation because you are so focused on everything there and the people there that you forget about all the day-to-day stuff that's going on in your life. And that's always a bit of a relief.
And you, Eric, had a really cool experience last year with the Vision Pro gathering that you guys had, the Vision Profiles gathering that you had that evening. That was fantastic to walk in there and see so many people invested in what you guys wanted to show them about these new devices that Apple released to everyone.
Yeah, it was a blast. And it was interesting too, because it's kind of like how I felt earlier on, in computing, when you would go to a conference or you go to a users group where people would bring their machine in and everyone would set up and then trade how they were getting everything to work. Totally different experience than what I've gotten with a lot of other conferences. So yeah, that was well worth it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think there's at a standard tech conference, there's a lot of one-to-many interactions. There's not a lot of one-to-one interactions, unless you happen to know somebody. Unless you come across somebody that you know, now you've got that one-to-one interaction. Maybe your little group of people that travels together in a herd throughout the conference stays together that weekend. But here, MacStock is the herd. I mean, everyone kind of picks up and moves, like you got 100 people picking up and moving together in this herd, like Chuck said, to the bar, to the hallway, to the conference center, to the Vision Profiles gathering, to see Mac Geek Gab record. And I think one of the things I really want to impress upon people is that it's not just for people who are tech nerds. It's for everybody. Mm-hmm. MacStock's roots are in the foundings of my podcast, which was always intended for the every person, for the person who's new to the Mac, for the person who's new to the iPhone and doesn't quite fully understand how everything works, but there's people around them who can share that knowledge and information with them just by asking a simple question at lunch or leaning over to the person who's next to you, during Allison's talk or whatever. And that's why I was emphasizing you're going to walk away with new friends, because these are people you are going to continue chatting with long after MacStock is over. And I absolutely love that Jill got that LinkedIn communication, because that's just amazing to have someone say, "Oh, I'm so excited to see you talking again at MacStock." And that's kind of been Jill's thing. She came to MacStock as a new attendee, but as a new speaker as well. And now, what are we, 3 years in, Jill? And, you're going to be presenting again this year. You're such a fun, dynamic speaker.
Well, I had the people in the back at the concessions when we were in the theater said, I didn't think I was going to like this at all, but I've learned so much.
That's the thing too, because Mike, you're trying to emphasize it's not just nerds. Whatever you see, you will, and wherever you are with your knowledge about technology or a particular topic, you'll pick something up that will be your next step.
Yeah, good point.
If you're new to it, you'll pick up your next step. If you're familiar with it, you'll still pick up your next step from what people are talking about.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, it's great. We're like less than 45 days away, Dave.
I finished my presentation Friday.
And I do think one thing. I think we all need to say a big thank you to Mike for starting this and for doing it every year. And because it is no small undertaking to put on a conference of any kind, let alone one that has grown and has been as successful as MacStock. So thank you for continuing to do it, Mike. You give us all that summer vacation, and we appreciate it.
Well,
and it's impeccably run.
I appreciate you all being there. Yeah.
Maybe you're having tornadoes in the background that we don't get to see, but from my point of view, I'm like, this is the most flawlessly run conference I've ever been to.
Oh, you don't see those tornadoes over there, do you? No, you don't see those. I had a pretty big one hit this morning, but that's neither here nor there. You don't need to know about that. See, that's not your job. That's my job to worry about that.
All right.
Thanks.
So let's.
Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. And it's 42 days away as we
coupon
record.
Code.
Yes, I'm going to.
Yeah,
I was going to announce that. I apologize if we have a bit of a delay today. So yeah, again, go to max.conferenceexpo.com. Links in the show notes. July 11th, 12th, 13th, Holiday Inn Crystal Lake. We're going to be there and have just an absolute blast. Yes, and if you want to register, use the coupon code, an offer code we have here for the show, InTouch50, and you'll save $50 off of the registration price. That'd be great, and you'll be able to enjoy all 3 days and check that out. So come join us. We can't wait, and it's I can't believe 42 days left, and I have to do my presentation still. So we can. I'm sure I'm not alone either. But let's. So thanks everybody, and come see us at MacStock. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky and Mastodon at In Touch with iOS. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe and you're notified when we're live streaming, which is Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. We had a great crowd here tonight. I think we almost had 10 people in the chat here today. 9 right now. So thank you, Cletus, for being here with your bucket. Webb, I think we saw Brian F. for a brief time, and probably a couple lurkers there as well. But you can join us live in the chat and hang out with us. It's a lot of fun. So thanks for being here. And we also will have all of the live streams left there to go ahead and watch again later, as well as you can listen to past shows right there on YouTube. You can go to In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics are flipped into that magazine. There's links in our show notes. You can listen and subscribe to the show on your favorite podcaster, which includes Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website, which is intouchwithios.com, and you can go there for all the links to a way to listen to us, or right there on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Blue Sky and Mastodon at DaveG65. We missed you, Jeff. We missed Jeff Gamet this week, but I know he'll be back next week for sure. Or hopefully, God willing, but he'll be here. We missed you, buddy. Mike Potter, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Well, folks can find me at formaceyesonly.com. That's my podcast. And you can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/FMEOTV. In fact, just this last Saturday, we had a special guest on, Mr. Marty Jencius, who joined us to talk about Apple Intelligence on the show. So that was a wonderful episode. And that's all edited out and in the feed for the audio show as well. But we usually record on the second and fourth Saturday of the month. And then, of course, this time of year, you're going to find me chasing tornadoes at max.conference.com. And that's where you can learn all about MaxTalk and who's going to be speaking and all the talks that are available to you at MaxTalk this year. And hope folks can join us. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Chuck Joyner, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Thank you, Dave. MacVoices.com. That's where you'll find me wrapping up our NAB interviews next week. We're right in the middle of the road to MaxTalk, where we're speaking to all of the presenters, or at least as many as we can wrangle, about what they're going to be talking about. Excuse me, getting all choked up. So you get a taste of what they're going to be talking about, what you'll be learning from them. And on all the socials, as usual, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner.
Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it. And Marty Jencius, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Hey. You can find me at Jencius, Jencius, at Blue Sky, and also at mastodon.social. Find the projects that I'm doing at thepodtalk.net. Website that will direct you to the other projects and other podcasts that I'm doing. Tuesday night with Chuck, Thursday night here with you, Dave, and then occasionally on a Friday morning if I'm not traveling with the Mac Show.
All right. And Jill McKinley, thank you for being here. Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me at MaxDoc, but beyond that, you can find me from Jill from the North Woods, either on podcasts or on YouTube. That's just the easiest way to find me. Jill from the North Woods.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Eric Bolden. Thank you always for being here. We appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Well, when I'm not dodging pelicans, I can be found on Mastodon at EA Bolden at techhub.social, or with Marty in Vision Profiles on Mondays, Tuesday with Chuck on Mac Voices, or Thursday here. So I cover all my OSs.
Yes, you do.
It's always important to cover your OSs.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for listening, for watching, and listening. We really appreciate you being here. We enjoy doing this show, and we'll be back next week. And until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again soon.